Once again, welcome back to another edition in my kitchen. Today we're going to cook something amazing. We're going to cook chickpea and spinach curry, or Chana, Saag, or Palak Chole, whatever you want to call it. So let's start with the ingredients. We have some yogurt, about 2 tablespoons that have been diluted slightly with some water. We have a good sprig of coriander, fresh coriander leaves. We have the juice of 1/4 of a lemon. Lemon's really important to use when you're cooking green vegetables. It helps with the digestion and it also helps keep the colour of your greens. We have about 3 or 4 freshly chopped green chilies. We have a teaspoon of cumin powder. We have a generous pinch of garam masala. We have about 1/2 tablespoon of Kashmiri chili powder. Obviously, like I always say, adapt the chili accordingly to your taste. So next we have some coriander powder, about a heaped teaspoon, and we have about 2/3 of a teaspoon of salt. We have about 2/3 of a teaspoon of turmeric. We have some tomato puree. I always use Napolina. It gives a very red colour, it's really good quality, and I'm not going to dilute it because I'm going to add some water to the curry later. We have a medium onion, very finely sliced. We have some freshly pureed spinach leaves, and finally we have some chickpeas, about a can of chickpeas that have been washed, drained and boiled slightly just to take some of that hardness off, just to soften them. Okay, let's get cooking. So this is going to be a nice, quick, healthy recipe. So I've heated up about 1.5 tablespoons of oil in a pan, and I've just added the cumin seed. I'm waiting for them to crackle to release their flavour into the oil. Let's turn the heat up a little bit. So this is a process known as tadka or tadka, and yeah, I'll be explaining a lot more about that for those of you that don't know when I do some South Indian recipes in the near future. Okay, next let's add the onions. Give it a stir. They're very finely sliced onions. Cut them all the same size so they cook evenly. And we're going to come back to that shortly once the onions brown. So those onions have been cooking now for about 6 or 7 minutes. You don't want to rush the onions. It's really important to cook them properly because that's where you get your sweet, rich, Moorish flavour from. And apologies about the bright sun shining in today. Hope it doesn't affect the video too much. So that's the way we want the onions. Let's add the ginger and garlic paste. Let's give that a stir. So it's important to cook the ginger and garlic paste through properly so it starts to fry. You don't want to burn it. Okay, next we're going to add our turmeric. Or turmeric as some people pronounce it, our salt and our coriander powder. Turn the heat down a little bit for this. You've got a very hot pan and some very delicate spices going in there. You don't want them to stick to the bottom too much, and you don't want them to burn. You just turn the heat down, cook out that raw flavour. Let's add the chilli. Starting to smell really nice. Next, our green chilies. They add a nice fresh acidic taste to the dish. As you've probably noticed, I use Kashmiri chili powder and green chilies. I really like my curries pretty spicy. So good. Let's now add quite a generous amount of tomato puree. It's a good heap tablespoon there. Just stir that into the onions. Next goes the yogurt. Make sure all the ingredients are combined well. It's starting to resemble a curry. So we're going to make sure that's heated up well, and next we're going to add the chickpeas. You can always tell when it's heated up well. You have bubbles throughout the dish, not just on the sides, and those bubbles are emitting small quantities of oil. It's always a good sign. So the good thing is to add ingredients bit by bit so you can heat them up properly, rather than adding a whole load of ingredients in the beginning, reducing the temperature of your dish. So now we can turn the heat up to a high, and those chickpeas will absorb some of the flavours, and we'll boil that for a couple of minutes and we'll come back to that shortly. Okay, that's been simmering away nicely now for a couple of minutes, starting to get some really good colours. And another tip is not to keep stirring your food. You know, leave it you know, caramelise on the bottom of the dish, around the side. It's really important for flavour. You don't want to keep stirring it. So just a little shove every now and then is fine. So let's add our spinach. This will be a real game changer. You're going to see the colour drastically change. Next we're going to add our lemon. A couple of seeds went into there, lovely. And again we're going to bring that to the boil. So that's been bubbling away nicely for about a minute and a half. We have some red oil that is emerging from those bubbles. We're going to add our garam masala. We're going to give it a final stir. And we're just going to split the oil. We're going to turn it down to a lower heat now. Let some of that oil come to the surface, and then we're going to serve. Okay, that's the dish finished. Nice rich brown colour. And finally we're going to just add a little bit of that coriander. And as a final touch, we're just going to put a couple of flecks of chili powder for garnish. So there it is. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Nice and simple, very healthy. Like, subscribe. Have a great day.